Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Sisters and brothers, today's reflection on a verse is going to be on a particular verse which we read quite a lot of times, I would assume, and we all know. But let's think about it just a little bit more profoundly and deeply. This verse particularly describes not only the relationship between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and each and every one of us, each and every one of the believers, of the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but actually it describes the geographical distance between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the believers. There is a cluster of 4 verses in Surah Al-Baqarah, starting with the verse number 183, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states that the month of Ramadan is the month in which fasting has been proscribed for each and every believer. And then he goes on, subhanahu wa ta'ala, to speak about the permutations, the allowances and the very technical details about fasting and about the month of Ramadan. But then, at the very heart of this cluster of verses is وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states quite clearly, unequivocally, addressing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if my servants ask about me, I am near, I am close by. I respond to anyone who cares to ask and to beseech and to supplicate. How this particular verse fell in the middle of a cluster of verses talking about very technical details, this tells us that Ramadan is not only about the technicalities. It's not about the do's and don't do's. It's not about what is allowed and what is not allowed. It goes further beyond. Allah wishes us to remember the very essence of the worship of fasting and the blessed month of Ramadan. And that is our connection to Allah and the sublime status of the act of dua, of turning our faces towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and beseeching Him. This is my reflection for today, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us all with the acceptance of all our prayers and each of our supplications. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.